Welcome to the Microsoft Belux Security Week. Today I will be talking about tackling your workplace security challenges with endpoint management. Today's challenges that are today in COVID-19 and what all our customers are asking is, how do I keep my Windows secure and how can I patch my third-party applications? I also need to defend my castle on another way. You see that the endpoint perimeter is shifting from what was before in the office and within firewalls and other network boundaries is now shifted to your workplace at home. How do I do my life cycle of my Windows Update OS? We see a lot of customers going from 1709 still going upwards to today 1909. How do I cope with that now that everybody is working from home and is not coming into the office? And how do I efficiently manage my workplace? What tools do I have available and what are my options and challenges? Well, cloud is giving you new opportunities. And with the new opportunities in cloud, we see that those tools can help you to answer those questions. People that weren't investing in cloud before should really look into investing in cloud tooling right now. So there is a road to modern management, and that road to modern management is very different for a lot of customers. So the question is actually, what does modern management means to your company or to your organization? We see that a lot of people are not thinking, or customers are not thinking about that roadmap. You should really think, what are your business scenarios? So you have multiple options today. You can have Endpoint Manager on-premise, you can have Intune, which is also Endpoint Manager in the cloud, and you will see that pick what's best for you and what fits to your organization. You shouldn't think that it's one tool or another tool. You should combine tooling to get maximum results. And you see that solutions designed to work together with existing technologies that you have already today. Today, a lot of customers are heavily or have been heavily investing in Config Manager. You see that today, it's not about Config Manager or Intune, it's better together story. It's about cloud attaching your Config Manager to Intune and using other tools like desktop analytics or endpoint analytics to gather data and to do analysis in your environment. Also, it's not a bridge, it's a destination. You will see that, again, it's not a big move from one tool to the other. It's about a transition you need to make over a few months, maybe years, but you need to focus and have a vision. If you have the vision, the tooling will be filled in by itself. And of course, get started today if you didn't start already. We have seen in COVID a lot of customers already thinking about new tools, thinking about having a tooling for coping with the challenges they have today. So what's in it for me in the Microsoft Endpoint Management space? We see on this part, we see that we have a lot of cloud tooling. A lot of customers already have invested in Office 365. We see that they also have already Azure AD. They also have an on-premise organization that today is using Config Manager or Microsoft Endpoint Manager, Config Manager. So what we see is that, first of all, a lot of customers will use a cloud management gateway to pull in their updates or to manage their PCs that are not connected through a VPN and install their updates. We also see that they have Intune with the Config Manager license. So they can enable CoManagement. With CoManagement, they can manage either a laptop from Intune or from Config Manager. And that is since 6 months from a single console in the cloud. Also, Autopilot, the way they provision machines, has become more easy with Autopilot and working with both tools. Intune in the cloud and Config Manager to deliver still those classic legacy apps. And then of course you have a little other component that can help you to do this application transitioning, which is Windows Virtual Desktop, which is also included in E3, E5 and some other E versions. But again, not a lot of customers know that. We have a manufacturing use case, which is a cloud management gateway. Problem statement was very clear. Customer wants to patch their Microsoft operating systems and third-party apps. They had a VPN that couldn't cope with all the traffic. They had an always-on VPN, and infrastructure was not sufficient for all the remote workers that were staying home due to COVID. Clients weren't always connected because they used Office 365 and not every day they needed a VPN connection. And they couldn't keep up with the Windows lifecycle in the beginning. The solution was to implement a cloud management gateway on Config Manager, which is an extension on Azure and which is a cloud service. And they implemented a split tunnel to divert the Microsoft content. So they were still in control, but they downloaded the content directly from internet at the user's internet connection. The benefit was that the clients were always online. Security patching would happen without burning the VPN. OS lifecycle can be guaranteed. And of course, we could reduce on-premise infrastructure. They had a lot of locations, sales offices all around the globe, which had a small distribution point in SCCM. And with the CMG, we were able to remove that on-premise infrastructure and fully leverage on the cloud management gateway. And that was also a huge cost saving. This use case is from a manufacturing customer. It has 15,000 seats. It's one of the largest in Belgium. And they were very happy with the end result. They could do everything they could do before when everybody was still on premise and in the offices, while now working remote. Just a small slide that you will see that Cloud Management Gateway was using the CMG traffic. You see that it took an uptake, and slowly we were like 40 gigabyte of data that was completely consumed from the Cloud Management Gateway. Patching. I have a second slide which is more clear, but you see clearly that from the distribution point there was it's almost 50-50 what was downloaded through the distribution point, and the other 50% was coming from the Cloud Management Gateway. Then we have a use case around CoManagement. CoManagement is actually, for the people who doesn't know it, it's connection between Config Manager and Intune. The problem statement there was they wanted to use conditional access, and they wanted to use conditional access for cloud resources to enforce multi-factor authentication on non-compliant machines. As you know, if a machine is on-premise managed by Config Manager by default, it cannot see the state in Azure Active Directory for being compliant or non-compliant. They wanted to have an ability to wipe the Windows 10 devices like they would wipe it from a mobile device. They wanted to have the security officer wanted a kind of guarantee the device would have been wiped. Although it should have been encrypted, he just wanted to have an extra security layer. An alternate way to monitor the health, because everybody is working from home. You know that, for example, with SCCM, the client health is an important factor to get everything up and running. If the client health is not good, we need an alternate way or alternate path to solve that issue. So we could repair it. So the solution was enable co-management, which was actually 4 clicks mentioned by Brad Anderson, I think 2 years ago. And you should shift your, we shifted the compliance workload from Config Manager completely to Intune to be able to do that conditional access steps. The benefit was that existing Config Manager computers could evaluate baselines and therefore also upload their compliance state. When the CISO asked for a report, we could prove that we could wipe the device. And we would be able to repair the broken clients through the Intune channel. Again, cloud is an opportunity. It's another tooling that will help you to leverage the on-premise tooling as well. This is a small example on how it looks. You have your on-prem config manager, you have your Intune in the cloud, and also lately Microsoft is heavily investing in Microsoft Endpoint Manager, let's say web console in the cloud, so you could manage from one place, you could manage both systems. The use case for co-management was, in this case, a public customer, government customer, with about 2,000 seats using this to protect their cloud resources. As you will see in this screenshot, you would see that the device would be managed by mobile device management on the top. So over here, and afterwards when we configured co-management, you would see that it was a joint effort between the MDM and the config manager agent. Then of course we create a compliance policy in Intune where we would say the OS version needs to be minimum this version. So if you want to say it needs to be minimum 1909 or anything else, you can specify it here. After that, we would create the conditional access policy where we would say we want to protect our Office 365 resources. We would create the conditions that everything is fitting to the modern authentication clients and other clients. After that, we would say that the device needs to be marked as compliant. And if that's the case, you get access to your Office 365 tooling. If not the case, then you would be blocked and you need to contact Help Desk. Now, just a summary of all these use cases is that implement remote working in a structural way. That's what we learned over now, let's say 6 months with COVID. Remote working is an investment. It's not something you're going to rush. You need to do it step by step. You need to think it through, and you need to work not only with your own team. It's a work in progress with multiple teams, networking, security. Also management and vision is very important. You need to think about solving the business scenarios. You shouldn't think about just solving it as a technical issue. But you need also the right management buy-in to succeed. So if you think scenarios, business scenarios, the sponsor will be the business and not the IT manager. And that's very important to make it a success. Also, something you need to think about today is modernize your apps. You might have some classical legacy apps. Think about moving them. If it's not possible, think about alternate solutions. Look at Windows Virtual Desktop. Maybe you can migrate to a SaaS app. Whatever comes around your path. But again, it's most of the time a business decision that also, so you need also to involve your business in those discussions. So securing the infrastructure for remote working. We have seen more and more when people started to work at home that some bad guys on the internet try to steal either company data, try to cripple companies, do a lot of bad things. So what before was managed within your perimeter now is being extended to the home user, in fact. So you need other tooling. Think about Windows Defender for devices. You need to think differently. You need to work with your security team also on that part. You need to also, I think, train your employees because it's very important with the new tooling you give them. They also need to be aware about them and they need to know how they work. You also need to train them from the security angle. You need to train them that working from home is differently than working in the office. You also need to know if somebody calls you from Microsoft saying, hey, I am from Microsoft and I want your password, that is not happening. This is not possible. So you need to train your employees. You need to train them on the tools, not only about security part, but also how can I use multiple new features within Teams, for example. Very important you train your users to guarantee the success. And if you want to chat with us, we have a Q&A session right now. Get in touch with us, talk about your problems that keep you awake, and we can probably help you during the Q&A session. Thank you for your attention and see you soon in the Q&A. Thank you.